Highly controversial topic, leg locks for jiu-jitsu. Why? Because it is frowned upon, but yet it is so loved. And let me break it down really quick for two reasons, and then we'll watch a quick video of how they can and cannot work, and at the same time, if it's a benefit to you. Now, starting out, if you guys are, like I always say, starting out jiu-jitsu, I commend you for doing that. I give you guys a little bit of background. 14 years, 15 years practicing jiu-jitsu, 4 years black belt. So did the 10-year stint, finally got the black belt. So 2 to 3 times a week, you guys will get there. But for you guys that are just starting out, leg locks, should you do them? Of course, I always think they're fun, but you got to have a safe environment to do so. And what does that mean by a safe environment? Well, communicating with your partner, especially when we're rolling and we are doing live action, we need to be very communicative, or we want to communicate as well as we can to our partner. Hey, let's just go to 80%. Once we get it, no cranking. It's always good to communicate, verbalize what you're trying to get across. But at the same time, is it imperative? No, it's not really. It's good to know the position that you're in, maybe to escape it. But all in all, is it something that's going to make or break the situation? Not necessarily, but we will watch a video in that case that it can work. But I just really want to emphasize that. Does the leg locks, the heel hooks matter in jiu-jitsu? Of course they do. But when you are beginning, let's start with the fundamentals first. And that's where I just really want to stick down to the basics, right? It's just like reading, writing, math. We want to start with 2 + 2 = 4. We want to make sure we're knowing our vowels, our verbs, and our adjectives before we start writing our novels. And before we start, going into geometry. So those are just some great foundations to know first before getting into it. But again, it doesn't mean that we can't learn them, but there are some risks to that reward. Now, I want to watch a video, just a really quick few minutes about how they can work in the play of MMA in real life, and then we can actually go into real life and see if it actually works. So let's hop into this video, you guys. Let's have some fun. Let's go.
Work in MMA. There are a lot of jiu-jitsu legends that are still of the mindset that leg locks are ineffective, at least in relation to mixed martial arts.
If I attack your foot, you're still free to knock me out. If your body goes down to my foot, I can still come close to you or stand up and I'll punch you. So it's not a good position to be in a real fight.
It's widely speculated that in putting yourself in a good position to attack the legs, positions such as single leg X or the Ashi position, that you open yourself up to strikes and further damage. In fairness, we have seen quite a few examples of this happening now. Ryan Hall, a specialist in leg attacks, found himself in the wrong position when attacking Ilia Topuria and ended up paying a hefty price.
He wasn't being defensively responsible.
Another jiu-jitsu legend, Gary Tonden, again opened himself up to strikes from the single leg X position and ended up being put to sleep with a number of clean shots from Tan Lee for the One Championship featherweight title.
Good point. Great points.
So yes, there are definitely clear examples of attempted leg attacks going wrong. There's no denying that. But here's what's wrong with that logic. That happens with other submission attempts all of the time, but we never say it's the fault of the position itself.
That's true. That's why I go back to my earlier statement.
Secure a Kimura against Jessica Andrade, and that led immediately to her being dumped on her head and subsequently knocked out. But we don't hear people criticising the Kimura trap as a position.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Rampage Jackson famously had his own way of getting out of triangle attempts. Maybe not the most conventional way, but his opponent was left unconscious from the slam. Or maybe it was the headbutt straight afterwards. But either way, we don't criticise triangle attempts. As a less extreme example of this, Glover Teixeira in his fight against Jiri lands a huge right hand and seems to be very close to finishing the fight to retain his light heavyweight belt. But he sits back for a guillotine and ultimately loses the position and the fight. But we don't end up saying that guillotines are ineffective and that you should never try them. Just that particular application of that guillotine didn't work that time. But hopefully you get my point by now. We also have countless examples of leg attacks working, which we need to consider. Both of those people we saw getting knocked out at the beginning of the video have several submission wins in MMA.
This one was nasty.
Ryan Hall, who we mentioned earlier, has a heel hook win over BJ Penn.
Every time. Every time.
A world-renowned BJJ black belt and a former UFC champion. So the other common argument that leg attacks only work on people that aren't experienced in those positions makes simply no sense either. You even have examples of people like Yuki Nakai back in the 90s using leg attacks to beat a much bigger opponent in Gerard Gordeau. even with Gordeau using tactics to inflict damage that aren't even allowed today, such as eye gouging and strikes to the back of the head. In short, we've seen multiple heel hooks, calf slicers, knee bars, straight ankle locks and many other submissions used effectively for a while in MMA throughout its history. So it's illogical to say that they don't work at all.
That's leg straight.
What does make complete sense is to start classing leg attacks as a risk. But as we've seen from some of the other examples, there are risks in losing position with nearly every submission.
That's that risk
With
reward.
advocates like John Danaher in the sport preaching about the use of leg entanglements to control the opponent's entire body, I would bet we're going to see more leg attacks in the future of MMA as fighters become more accustomed to the options available to them. And I, for one, am all for it.
He didn't let go.
And that's a good point. That's a great point. So that's what I was trying to get past. That's what I was trying to get by to you guys, is that they can work in a scenario, but also they can't work in that scenario. So I'm not advocating for it, and I'm not dismissing it. You know, it's 50-50, if you will. I love that pun. And then one last thing too, in that real world scenario, because we have to remember that watching UFC and watching these events, these are trained fighters. And one thing that I know of when I go and compete against people that aren't trained, there really is no fluidity in the body. And what I mean by that is the opponent that I might be rolling with that doesn't know how to roll or doesn't know how to fight, there's no... they don't know how to move their body. They don't know how to control their body. They don't know how to control me, let alone. And so that's where the advantages are with leg locks in the real world scenario versus, an MMA match. So to give you guys another example, which I really like, this is a little confrontation at a basketball court, which I believe you probably, if you guys are into jiu-jitsu, have already seen. But this is a great example when a confrontation happens and, maybe you don't want to go striking and you don't want to, for me, I don't want to get hit. And maybe it might be a little bit of vanity, but it's just nobody likes getting punched, let alone in the nose, in the temple, and just getting punched is no fun. So I can understand why some people want to go to the ground of the legs, if we're in a confrontation. So let's get into it, you guys. Let's watch this. This is a great example of how it can work in a real world scenario.
I just tried him. I got you on tape doing like this. Do you got some money? He got you on tape. We talking about money. Do he got some money? You don't want to play for no money with your weak ass. Yeah, come play me. But you don't got some money. Play for some money. Play for some money. I'm really smarter than that. You ain't got shit, boy. Shut up. You smart. That's why you smart. Like I said, you won't play me though. You won't play me though. You don't have any money. You just do action. I'll whoop your ass. That's what you have. Do something. What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about?
Trying to go for the back. Gets the back. Black people don't like MMA. They don't like it. He's going for a triangle. He's going to set it up.
Let him go.
Let him go. Let him work. Let him cook.
Let him go. Don't get in there, juice. Let him go.
I love this. Dude, what a great ending. You will never play basketball again. And he's right. And what a great job for him to control that situation. So for you guys that are really contemplating, doing this is a great example. It doesn't have to be walking down Chicago, New York, or Houston, and having, some guy pulling a gun. That's one thing. But it's more for these kind of scenarios. And that's why I really advocate, too, for your kids to do this. Because this is just normal stuff that happens all the time. Confrontation happens all the time. And he had that confidence with him. He was like, dude, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And the guy swings on him, and he had control the entire time. Not one time did the green shirt guy throw a punch. Everything was controlled. He went from the back take. He did a little reverse butterfly into a triangle, try to have the triangle. The guys were trying to peel him off, and then he just switched right into the leg, which he gave both of his feet. If you guys checked it out too, both of his feet were pushing against him, where we watched earlier, or there might be positions where the person might be able to push those legs out of the way and have a closer shot where you're able to punch. But in his scenario, he was able to push them off with his feet and have that distance and just tell him, like, hey, dude, you going to stop it or not? And it's the same being in a mountain. Be like, hey, man, you going to stop or not? So to the previous video's point, that's why, you know, he had a great point. It's you know, you're either going to use it, right, and it'll work, or sometimes it might be a bad position and it might give you a disadvantage. But all in all, this is just a great video for you guys wherever you're at. It's always good to learn this, but when are you going to use it effectively and efficiently? And are you jumping the gun and learning that stuff first before learning the basics? Because again, he could, to that last video that we watched, he had all the foundation to get there, right? What if he just went there and just got pummeled to the ground and just got knocked out from that because he didn't know that other stuff? So there is a good way, just like having a house, you got to have a big, good foundation. But I hope this gave you guys some enlightenment and some encouragement to have that right direction of where you want to go and how you want to utilize your jiu-jitsu game, because at the end of the day, it's your game, how you want to play it. I'm just here giving some advice and maybe some direction to the map that you guys are trying to draw. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave a comment. I want to hear what you guys think. With that, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.